All right, welcome back. It's about 28 minutes to the top of the hour, and my conversation with lawyer James Mamboleo continues shortly. But remember that we're still in Wote, Makueni County, where Daniel Kariuki will be reporting live, and we'll be crossing over to Lanet in Nakuru County, also where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to commission the cadets. Ibrahim Karanja will be joining me with a live report. But let's get back to our discussion with the lawyer, James Mamboleo, joining us from his office right here in the capital. James, let's proceed with the discussion now. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of activity in the judiciary, and this is because of the video leaks. I'll be talking about that. But yesterday, something happened during the devolution conference. The chief guest yesterday was the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, and she told off Ruto allies over her being included in that multi-sectoral working group. She said it's by right, it's by constitution that the CJ has to be present in that. But these concerns by UDA are not so remote, because this is a political season, it's a political party, and they're looking for independent arbiters. So they're saying, how can you wear a cap inside that multi-sectoral forum, and then when you leave, you will be an arbitrator in court? So it doesn't sit well with them, but she says she's not leaving. Your concerns from the bar?
Ken, we have to be extremely careful not to allow certain views. Of course, they are guaranteed under the articles in the Constitution that guarantee freedom of expression. But let's give it some background, Ken. This multi-sectoral forum for the preparation towards election is not new. Believe me, the Chief Justice Emeritus, David Maraga, used to be the chair of the Committee on Elections in the Judiciary, and he did a lot of good things before he became Chief Justice. When he became Chief Justice, he sat in that multi-sectoral forum for the purposes of preparation of elections. So this is not the very first time this is happening. Remember that the Chief Justice is appointed under Article 161 as the head of the judiciary. And if you look at Article 172 and the functions of the Judicial Service Commission, the Chief Justice is actually the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission. And under the Judicial Service Act, she has been given power to be the liaison person intergovernmentally. So I think someone is confusing something we call separation of powers and what is called intergovernmental relations in our Constitution. There is no way you can confuse the role the Chief Justice is playing right now with the decisional role that the judiciary will play ultimately in the election. I want to be extremely clear. I have absolutely no confusion with respect to this, because you see, what is happening right now is that the multi-sectoral forum is organizing for all factors that have to be considered for the election to become successful. And every government institution that is required to be there is going to be there. And I think the Chief Justice is there in her capacity as Chief Justice administratively. Now, we must separate the administrative role of the Chief Justice from the decisional role which she will play when it comes to hearing of cases and determination of cases thereof when those cases come to the judiciary. I do not think that what we are dealing with is the latter. What we are dealing with now is preparedness for the coming election. Even the judiciary itself has to be prepared. By the way, there are very many petitions that are likely to come. The judiciary needs to know how to handle it, and the judiciary needs to advise all government. In fact, if you look at the functions of the Judicial Service Commission under Article 172, the Judicial Service Commission has a role to advise the national government on questions of administration of justice. So I do not see at all whether there is any problem, in my view, constitutional, statutory, or otherwise, by the Chief Justice sitting in that forum. Mm-hmm. And I think the Chief Justice was totally right in telling them that hold your horses. What the role I'm playing here has nothing to do with deciding on elections. When that particular matter comes before the courts, whatever petition it is, presidential or otherwise, we are going to exert ourselves, considering fully well the provisions of the Constitution on independence, judicial and decisional independence of judges when it comes to deciding cases, Ken.
Okay. Be that as it may, Mamboleo, the concerns that have been raised by UDA, would you just dismiss them ab initio? They don't matter because in practice, the CJs usually sits in that task force. Would you just dismiss them?
You know, as I said at the very beginning, every human being, every Kenyan is guaranteed the freedom of expression in this country, and they have an opportunity to raise their concerns. Now, we cannot say that they cannot raise those concerns if they have them. But of course, the other issue is when you raise such concerns at such a high level, you must do so with a little bit of more information. And that concern must be raised on the basis of something. I am saying that with respect to the provisions of the Constitution, the Office of Chief Justice is a creation of the Constitution. Okay. The roles the Chief Justice plays are stipulated in the Constitution and in statute. So unless you are saying that the statute or the Constitution does not allow the Chief Justice to do so, then we will ultimately arrive at the conclusion, judicially so, that your allegations or that whatever concerns you are raising are not founded. Okay. In fact, this is a clear case in which we can categorically say that the UDA concerns are a bit more political than constitutional or legal. And okay, they have good reason to have those concerns if they have them. But as far as I can see, I don't see any constitutional or statutory bar that bars the Chief Justice from sitting in that multi-sectoral.
All right. Election is not an event. It's usually a process, Mamboleo. So even right now what's happening is part of that process. At the end of the day, when there is a dispute that needs to be deliberated upon, James, and the Chief Justice was involved in this process that, let's assume, fails, and she was involved in that process, don't you see that blame lawyers such as you, when you go to court, you can even bring such up if there's something that has gone wrong. You're part of the process that went wrong. Now we are before you again. I mean, it cuts both ways.
Let me explain this simply to Kenyans this way, that each of those officers represented in that particular sector of multi-sectoral forum is created by the Constitution and the statute. And ultimately, each of those organizations, be it the IEBC, be it the Ministry of Interior, be it Parliament, be it the Office of Chief Justice, is finally going back to do its role in the process of elections. Because remember, each of those particular organizations has a role to play in the elections. So what is happening is basically consultation. This is what we call intergovernmental relations. And we really hope and trust that some of these things can be done better in future. We need institutions of government at that high level to be talking to each other to be able to prepare some of these processes properly. So what happens is this: once, for instance, when Parliament is going to be involved, so that Parliament is acutely aware of the financial needs of the IEBC or legislative needs of IEBC to be able to do its job. The judiciary is going to be involved to be able to advise that when some of these things happen and they turn out as disputes, these are some of the things that need to be in place for some of these things to be resolved appropriately. The IEBC is going to be involved from a technical standpoint to show them that this is actually what we need to prepare for and conduct a free and fair election. So in my view, I do not see anything that is happening right now that is going to hinder the ability of the Chief Justice and the judiciary to determine these questions when they become disputes appropriately. Because at this level, in my view, what is happening is purely consultative. When the matter becomes a dispute that goes to the courts, this matter is going to be subject to due process. Parties are going to make their case, and we expect that at that particular point in time, the Chief Justice, for instance, if it is a presidential petition, or the other judges, if it is gubernatorial, member of parliament elections, or whatever it is, are going to sit and exercise total decisional independence on that question. I don't see how they are going to be influenced unduly by what is going on for these preparations.
All right, I'll read part of the quote that is on the Standard, page 10, Mamboleo, what the Chief Justice said in response, and then you can react to this. The independence of the judiciary is deep and fundamental. It cannot be taken away because I serve in another government agency. We are required by our Constitution to collaborate and coordinate our affairs. Now, that's what the CJ said partly in response. But the fact that the political parties know this and they still raised it. Now the question is, are they trying to muddy the water ahead of the election like every politician usually does? You will have ODM complaining about the commissioners at the IBC. You'll have the opposition also talking about the police, the interior, oh, they're being used for this and that. We've had UDA complaining about the cabinet secretaries who are involved in campaign. Is this just part of the politicking, just muddying the water so that they're prepared for anything?
I can assure you that is the case. Take an example of the United States presidential election that was just conducted last year. The truth of the matter is, when you look at big players like the former President Donald Trump, they started muddying the waters early by saying this election has been prepared to be rigged. And this is exactly what you do when you realize that there is a possibility you might lose the election. Because what you want to do is ensure that no institution is going to be standing at the time you go to the election, so that you say, you know, this election was not done in accordance with the Constitution and the law. And I am not, I can't put it too far away from that. I think that some of the strategists and advisors in UDA are trying to identify key positions that they can throw mud at, so that to make sure that when the time comes, they are able to say, no, we don't expect to get justice in these courts because this election has been stolen, and this election was organized to be stolen a long time ago. What is happening in Koome-UDA right now is not new. This multi-sectoral forum was there in the last election. It should be there in this election, and I bet it should be there even in the next election. Okay. And there is nothing wrong about it. I think what you're saying is true. Someone somewhere is trying to create that opportunity in future, if they lose, to be able to say that, you know, the reason I lost is because someone did something wrong at some point. And I don't think there is anything wrong being done by the Chief Justice at this point in time.
Okay. Well said. Away from that, the judiciary has so many issues to contend with. Forget about even the Chief Justice in herself. The Judicial Service Commission is fully seized of the matter. Suo moto, they decided to take up Sonko's case. Yesterday, they informed him, and now they are inviting him to give evidence before the subcommittee, before it goes to the plenary. Take us through what is likely to happen in the next few days concerning this case.
Having said what I said earlier, Koome-UDA, about the role the Chief Justice is playing in the multi-sectoral forum, I must also take this opportunity to tell her that I am one of those people who has really worked hard to tell the judiciary that there are some internal problems in the judiciary that the judiciary needs to handle. There is, of course, rampant corruption in the judiciary. There are a lot of things in the judiciary that are happening, and we haven't seen a very strong Judicial Service Commission in the past, because every time the question arose with respect to inefficiencies, corruption, and problems in the judiciary, the Judicial Service Commission was always quiet. In fact, the Chief Justice Emeritus always dismissed it as an affront at independence of the judiciary. So what we are saying now is this. In the coming days, we expect the Judicial Service Commission to be extremely firm. Some of these allegations in the judiciary on corruption are extremely dire, and we need the Judicial Service Commission, headed by the current Chief Justice now, to show the public, to show Kenyans that it's actually very serious about some of these allegations. So we expect, for instance, that after all persons, including Mike Mbuvi Sonko, who have some evidence of wrongdoing of any judge, to present their views before the Judicial Service Commission, so that if the Judicial Service Commission then finds that there was actually wrongdoing that requires for the president to form a tribunal for investigation, then that is done quickly, so that all these cases are brought to bear. Believe me, there are a number of petitions that have been made to the Judicial Service Commission with respect to many judges, and we expect that in the coming days, the Judicial Service Commission should be leading from the front by processing all those petitions quickly, and where there is evidence of any misconduct on the part of any sitting judge, that those cases are taken to the president for the formation of tribunals, and let the president establish tribunals with the strong men and women who can actually look those judges in the face and tell them what you've been doing is extremely wrong, and it is in the interest of Kenyans that you go home, so that other people who meet the stringent requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution can be given those positions to serve. That is what I expect. Of course, I also know that some of these guys are going to politicize this. They are going to call it an attack on the independence of the judiciary. Kenyans should not be allowed to be taken down that road again. I think for the first time now, the Judicial Service Commission has another chance, just like the radical surgery before, in this environment as it is, to be able to crack a whip very strongly on some of these guys who are giving a very bad name to an otherwise extremely good institution called the Judiciary of the Republic of Kenya.
James Mamboleo, Advocate of the High Court of Kenya, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning and giving us your perspective of what's happening at the judiciary, and of course the Chief Justice Martha Koome's position by telling of UDA regarding sitting on that task force. James Mamboleo, they're speaking to us. All right, we will be crossing over right now to Nakuru County, where President Uhuru Kenyatta